Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, are you in for a treat tonight? Because you showed up a little bit early, you get to see TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, live right here. Let's watch, shall we? Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, accompanied by First Lady Mrs. Melania Trump.
Would rather stick forks in my eyes than be here tonight to listen to Donald Trump.
I got Trump derangement syndrome. And you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to get better. I want to get worse. I want to hate him more. I pray to God in heaven, God brain, the righteous brain of Trump derangement syndrome. Pray for me, Lord. I'm your vessel.
You got it, buddy.
Pray for the people that listen to this. We want more. We want to hate the son of a bitch so much that we can't see straight.
Count by count, one by
You're listening to
one.
Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this,
Hi, kids.
then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children
Great to
and
see
our
you.
children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Great t-shirt, baby, huh? Nice tiara.
I'm climbing through the chaos, got the truth in my back. Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big gods creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpa's come and remember my name. Sherpa's rising. This judge is twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpa's come and remember my name. Sherpa's rising. I've seen the storms, I've walked the line. 41 years, badge on the grind. Now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall. Sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpa's come and remember my name. Sherpa's the static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, Rose will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
Sherpa's rising. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from Nof, Idaho, in an actual free state. I am this guy. I am your conservative Sherpa, and I am guiding you through the insidious maelstrom of Demorat, leftist, and globalist lies and deceit and bedlam and betrayal and chaos and all that stuff. That's me. That's what I'm doing. I am here to guide you as much as humanly possible. And I wish to thank everyone for being here tonight. This is one of those shows where I have to say, I'm overmaxed. I am maxed over max and maxing. And I find it interesting that so many of the SHR media hosts with the mosts are saying things that I've been saying for quite some time. And that is, there's so much stuff to talk about. How will I ever get to it? Wait, BZ, What's that you smell? Do you smell a mountain of information and a potential BZ's Sunday night saloon? Not sure, not committing, not saying definitely yay, not saying definitely nay. By the way, folks, this is where you can find me right now on the SHR Media YouTube channel, on Spreaker later, Apple Podcasts later, on the SHR Media Facebook page, on Twitch, on Rumble at BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, and also on KLRN Radio right now, which is currently being simul-streamed and casted simultaneously by the person with whom we all say, please, please, pretty please, don't tax the Rick. And please note that for the next 2 hours, you're about to hear things that happen to be my opinion and my opinion only. I, right here, sitting in this here seat, am doing the things that, like, let's see, what do? I fundamentally change America. Oh, that's right. One leftist diaper at a time. And of course, we don't water our drinks. My shoulder must be getting better because I can kind of sort of hold this up a little bit. Like we don't water our conversations. By the way, since you're seeing this, if you want, you can go to shrmedia.com and you can buy this mug. It's a huge mug. It's a big mug. It's a combat mug. And when you drink it like this, oh, that's where BZ's vodka exists. Sorry, you won't get the BZ on the bottom because that's an affixation that I applied to it personally with customization. Also, we are still serving stiff drinks in the saloon, along with facts and history and logic and rationality and proportion and context and clarity and tradition and common sense for normal people like you and me. So politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law, we talk about it all right here at the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze, she is not. And I almost don't know where to start off tonight. I could say that I'm going to go with, by the way, the theme for tonight. It's a semi-mini theme, or what I've called in the past an SMT. So if you ever hear SMT, that'll be a semi-mini theme tonight. But this is a very strange topic that for whatever reason, no one picked up on. And I'm wondering, is a China-U.S. naval war in the offing? Because an incident whipped past all sorts of people, and I'm not going to make you wait until the very end. I mean, good God, how rude would that be? And the answer is very damn rude. I'm going to be talking about it pretty upfront, but not before I do this. Pretend there's music. Pretend you're hearing music. Carousel of amusing GURP. Yeah, what that means is I've got some strange crap coming up right now. Here's, this is kind of strange, but it's badass stuff. Come on.
World peace has been declared, with peace treaties signed with the 8 countries left that America hasn't obliterated.
San Francisco sure is clean and vagrant free.
That's because all the homeless people had to get jobs or starve to death.
Look, a rainbow! Wow!
Wow!
It's the symbol of God's promise to Noah and absolutely nothing else.
What a great fully automatic rifle you got without needing a permit. Only problem is there are no criminals to shoot.
Yeah. Damn it!
How much will the surgery cost?
Just $20, and you can get it right away thanks to our capitalistic healthcare system.
I have no money. Can I get health care?
Of course not.
It's kind of boring how no one has ever shot at me.
Do you have any movies with smut or weird stuff in them?
Not since Hollywood caught fire and we just let it burn. We have sappy Christian movies, though.
Are they any good?
No.
Well, All right. The truth hurts, but sometimes, like I say, I get sent some of the finest videos. That was one of them. You won't see that on the mainstream media or anything. What you will see, however, is a guy named Spencer Pratt is running against Commie Karen Bass in Los Angeles. And let's just put this right up here and play it, because this happens to be a really good ad. Only about 30 seconds. Hit it.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nikia Raman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor. For my sons and the rest of us Angelinos that want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We are going to get the golden age of Los Angeles back.
Now that's a damn skippy, great video. But if you thought that, BZ, darn, I wish you had more videos. Well, oddly enough, under the rubric of the carousel of amusing GURP, by God, yes, I do. This I find most amusing. Go.
Oh my gosh, Caitlin Bennett just dropped what is probably going to be the most viral clip of 2026.
Okay, copy. Stop right now. Mikhail, stop. Obey the hand. Now, if you happen to be having a mug or a cup of some carbonated beverage, my safety advice to you is put that bad boy down right now.
Y'all to get out of here with your sign.
What do you mean? Oh, you have borders on this campus.
No, we have this space reserved as an official event.
Yeah, so you have borders. Where's your borders at?
This whole green area right here.
Oh, so you want to control who comes in and out, like an ICE agent or a border patrol agent. You wouldn't dare act like a fascist, would you?
Oh, stop. Is that a dress he's wearing? Why, yes, that's a dress he's wearing. But it's not a kilt, because kilts are cool and kilts will kill you. But that's just a damn dress, mister.
So I would really encourage you on.
Oh, and a septum ring. What's the first thing? Folks, be honest. What's your motivation when you see somebody with a septum ring? What's the first thing you think of? That's right.
On a rally on a campus, this is an event for sanctuary campuses. You probably shouldn't act like a fascist border patrol agent. You should take down your borders and let whoever wants on the space, okay? Why is your lip quivering?
He's pissed because you're making.
Because you've been called out on how you're acting exactly.
Oh, poor baby's lip is quivering because he's fighting. He doesn't have an answer. He's never been blazed by anyone before. Poor baby.
Like how you don't, what you're advocating against, you're acting just like them. So if you believe in illegal aliens allowing to have sanctuary on this campus, put your money where your mouth is, leave me alone, and let me have sanctuary on this campus, okay?
First off, perfect execution. Second, this is a perfect highlight of how the left operates. For me, but not for thee. They don't understand from a critical thought perspective how much of a hypocrite they are when it.
Stop, because it's true. Let me remove this from the screen and we will continue. Now, having said that, though, some of the things that I'm going to be going over tonight, like I say, initially, this really kind of bizarre, kind of interesting story that I hope that you realize there's some potentiality here. And also, we're going to be going over this Epic Fury updates, and we'll be going into standby for news. And then we're also going to be going, when I can find it, there we go. There are going to be some happy stories. There are lots of happy stories. And then in between all of this, I have got a ton of stuff. So like I told you, I'm not going to make you wait. I want you to conjure this. If you guys have heard this anywhere, let me know. because I have not prior heard this story. Now, it was weird that I found it on Facebook. Weird, strange, but okay. And there are some connotations to be taken away from this. So let me make sure that I have the audio up. Let me place it on stage, and let's listen. Or maybe we shouldn't listen because there's an audio to this. Okay, we'll just read it. A fleet of 6 very large crude carriers, those are these things right up here, capable of carrying 2 million barrels of crude, began moving to Bandar Abbas, but they weren't alone. There was a Chinese People's Liberation Army 45th Escort Task Force. The tip of the spear was these 2 ships that at first blush don't appear to be military ships, but oh, woe is you. These Chinese supertankers were breaking through the Strait of Hormuz with escorts, with Chinese escorts. These are guided missile destroyers. These aren't standard warships, and China is sending these ships to the Strait of Hormuz to make sure that their ships go through. Now, when I said originally that, I wonder if this could happen. It's basically a BZ if-then equation. And if that were to continue, then it's not entirely impossible that there could be some further contre-temps going on between the U.S. and also between, China. Now, the big question at this point is, what's China going to do about that? And will they continue doing that? This is about the time when we're going to transition over to this, some Epic Fury updates, because something very important has just recently happened. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates, have just pulled out of OPEC, and lower oil prices are expected. People quantify it as a win for Trump, and actually it's a win for the world as well, because the Organization of Petroleum Exporting States, it's a cartel, began, to the best of my knowledge, in 1960. And they treated oil like diamonds, like De Beers treats diamonds. They set the price. Now, everyone with a whit of common sense knows that there is a flush amount of diamonds all throughout the world. And De Beers and other companies hold these, and they release them to ensure that the prices stay high on diamonds. There are blood diamonds and there are conflict diamonds. And it's the same with OPEC and oil. There's blood oil and conflict oil. And because of that, in the Middle East, we have had to jump to the tune of OPEC, Saudi Arabia, and a lot of these other crazy-ass Muslim bastards that happen to live. I'm sorry, and bastardettes too. I don't want to forget the female, who live in the Middle Eastern version of Islam. But there's another story behind this, and I think it's a very positive story. I just found this before I came on the air. I'm not sure who this guy is, but he says he makes a really great summary about OPEC and what this means when UAE has decided to split aside out of OPEC. When one nation moves from one organization, that tends to create a little bit of a splinter effect. So the curious question now is, what's going to happen with OPEC when one of the leading nations has decided that it's going to go it alone right now?
The UAE just left OPEC. What is OPEC, and is this a big deal? Is it going to impact oil?
I think OPEC stands for the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. I don't know.
Okay.
I think that's what it means. So basically, it's a cartel, right? The oil world is an oligopoly. That means there's a few players only that have the oil. So it's like an oligopoly. And then within that oligopoly, an oligopoly is like a monopoly, but with several players. Within that, OPEC is like a cartel. And what OPEC does, if you're a member of OPEC, they control production, they control pricing. They'll say like, hey, we want prices per barrel of oil to be this much. And then what happens is, so each of you member countries can only produce so much because it's a supply and demand thing.
So they collude on pricing.
They price setting.
Just like De Beers, just like diamonds. Oh, but there's a finite amount of oil, just like there's a finite amount of diamonds. You won't know about that. But if you hoard oil and if you hoard diamonds, you create a market where prices go up. The goal of OPEC is to make sure that prices of oil never plummet.
So the UAE leaving OPEC, why? It's because they want to be a regional player. They're moving closer towards the West, the US, meaning in their ally, things that they do as a good ally of the US, they're moving towards like us, coming towards us. So they're leaving the cartel because they have excess production capacity. They've spent so much money on building out their infrastructure to produce more oil that they're like, hey, I don't want to be controlled. I want to be able to sell more, especially after what's happening in Iran right now.
Like an actor, what's your motivation? What is UAE's motivation for doing this right now? If you heard what he said, the UAE is backed up on oil. They're producing a ton, but they cannot release it if they stick with OPEC. They've decided to leave OPEC, and they're going to strike out on their own and sell to essentially whoever they will. What this primarily means is that they are more Western/US friendly now.
The whole global geopolitical structure is going to change over there, and it looks like they just want to move closer to us and be free of any price control, so they can sell more oil, and make more money basically, because things are changing. But what the impact is because OPEC is a cartel, as more cartel members leave, they have less control over the price.
Stop. It's at this point, because that's absolutely true. Now, ask yourself, kids, do you think UAE would have done this had not the U.S. gone into Iran? The answer is, oh, hell no, not at all.
So the long-term, academic view on this, logically, is if they leave, maybe more other people leave, and more people who leave means there's more supply coming into the market because there's more suppliers now not being controlled. So more oil, more supply, oil prices could drop, basically.
And they're starting to drop, at least around here. I don't know about where you are. If you happen to be in a blue state, in a leftist state, then probably because of taxes also, you're not going to see much difference right now. But like this guy, I need to explain a little bit what's going on. So the UAE just kind of silently, shh, don't tell anybody. They decided that they were going to do basically a sovereign dollar swap with U.S. Treasury. And that occurred before the cartel news happened to break. And Bloomberg, which normally has their finger on the pulse of all of this, all the finances, they didn't have the timing down. And so Abu Dhabi essentially said, oh, after 58 years, we're going to leave OPEC. They are the first major Gulf oil producer to leave since the cartel was founded, like I said, I think it's about 1960. So the UAE was sitting on about $93 trillion of spare oil capacity that it couldn't pump. It wasn't allowed to pump because Saudi Arabia-driven OPEC, quotes, kept getting in the way. You have it. That's fine. By the way, you're not going to release it at all. So the Trump administration has been courting Gulf producers one by one. And cheap oil in the midterms is one of the goals. Has it ever been a goal in a prior administration? Certainly not under 46 at all. And so let's see, Qatar walked in 2019, Ecuador walked in 2020, Angola walked in 2024, UAE walked in 2026. So essentially 4 major exits in 7 years and no new members to replace them. The UAE was the biggest, most important group of the bunch. And so OPEC, Washington just basically dismantled the cartel that's been throttling us since 1973. And not a single shot had to be fired at OPEC. And all this in about 1 week or so. So there are some very serious implications in all of this, not the least of which are financial. So like I say, we're talking about this right now, Epic Fury updates. And I went over this, the China-US war, but that's just a fraction of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. When I come back, when I return to speak to you, we're going to be talking about Scott Bessent and what Bessent has decided that, I think we're going to be freezing some assets. And he said something similar to, if you're buying Iranian oil, you might not want to be doing that these days.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log entry. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Life, politics, podcasts, small animals, bad government, Trump 2028. It's all here. You can find it right here in the saloon. Thanks to everybody who is here right now. It is 8:33 Pacific, which means it's 10:33 Central. And it is, oh my God, it is 11:33 on the far East Coast. Thanks to everyone who is tuning in right now. If you would subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. And by the way, also, our chat room, my chat room, is available right here. Look, isn't that plush? Doesn't that look sumptuous? It is, in fact, palatial, and no one doubts its resplendency. And that's the chat room into which you can jump right now. And it's only available at the SHR Media YouTube channel right now. And also, all of us want to tell you that we've broken 1,400 subscribers right now. We got 1,420 and a few more than that. Next stop, 1,500. So if you would please subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. And while you're at it, hit that bell, not like this, similar to. And what that does is that gets you notified of whenever SHR has a host that you might want to see. If I'm not mistaken, I believe you have to hit the bell for every SHR Media host. And we have hostesses with the mostesses. And also, while you're here, if you would, please share the show all over the worldwide universe. And thanks for not taxing Rick. Do not tax the Rick. And thanks to him for doing the streaming, the co-streaming with us tonight. Now, I said when last we left, Scott Bessent has said essentially in Operation Economic Fury, because there's, this fury, not a 1958 fury, but there's Epic Fury updates, which I went through. And then that's part and parcel of this as well. People who are doing business with Iran, particularly people involved in oil, petroleum, etc. Scott Bessent has said this.
Last March, it was that pressure that brought the Iranian economy to a standstill in December that led to the protest. The largest bank in Iran collapsed. The central bank had to monetize the debt, and that created massive inflation. Their currency is down about 60 or 70% versus the U.S. dollar. So they're in the middle of a currency
So sorry, lo siento.
crisis. And what we're doing now is, we've been in a long race and we are sprinting for the finish line. President Trump told me 3 weeks ago to up the pressure again, and we have gone to the buyers of Iranian oil and told them that we are willing to do secondary sanctions on your industries, on your banks who tolerate Iranian oil in their system. One of the big mistakes out of many that the Iranian leadership made was bombing their GCC counterparts, because for years we had heard that there was no IRGC money in their bank accounts. Now they've become more transparent, and we are freezing those bank accounts for the Iranian people. And we can see that every day it is more pressure on the regime. The retirement funds that they thought that they had outside of Iran, we are freezing. We're holding those for the Iranian people. Same with all their villas in the south of France and all over the world. And we are going to track them down, and we are going to continue the economic pressure, as well as the block on the Strait of Hormuz.
The villas in the south of France. Imagine that the IRGC folks have villas in the south of France. Also interesting is this aspect as well.
On Monday, April 13th, while the entire world was watching Hormuz, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth quietly hosted Indonesian Defense Minister Shafri Samsudin in the Pentagon. And what they announced was a major defense cooperation partnership between the United States and Indonesia.
Now, stop right here for a second. You've watched the show before. You've seen me before. You've heard what I've said. And what I've said before is this: where are the great... Now, the idiots will give you the wrong answer. But I'll let some of the people that are here on the left that jump into the show, I'll let you guys answer. Where are the greatest number of Muslims on the planet? Now, the answer obviously is not Indonesia. The answer obviously is in the Middle East. Oh, no, that's incorrect, BZ. That's where the greatest number of insane terrorist lunatic Muslims are. But the greatest number of Muslims are in Indonesia. And it appears that they're going to allow us to do what?
Partnership has 3 pillars. 1, military modernization capacity building.
Mm-hmm.
2, training and professional military education.
Okay.
And 3, regional exercises and operational cooperation. And woven into this agreement,
hey, here comes the important part, kids,
is Indonesia granting U.S. military aircraft, quote, blanket overflight access across the whole of Indonesian airspace.
Stop. This is where I'm going to stop right now. You know, unlike, let's say, the UK, unlike, say, Spain, and unlike, say, Italy. And because of that, wouldn't it be seemingly kind of a bit odd if President Trump was considering, because these are some of the things that these countries have said, pulling troops from Spain, pulling troops from Italy, pulling troops from Germany, because the idea for NATO is a time that is past. It is gone. We already conducted our very own 1945 assembly, pushing together of all and trying to reassemble all the European nations, including Germany, and yet they're not treating us all that entirely well. So even though we reassembled most of the countries involved in World War II, we're not getting the respect it would seem that it would be nice to have, and the cooperation. So as with everything else in life, there should be and there must be consequences. You know, the Marshall Plan was only good for X number of years, and Europe, the EU, and NATO, and the UK seem to think that they are due all of our hard-earned American taxpayer dollars. And that's why President Trump said, you know what, the U.S. first. And Indonesia, some of the other countries are starting to come around. You know, maybe it is time for us to be first. And now that we are becoming independent of blood oil and conflict oil, the people that are most assuredly more hurt by this are those that are sucking on the oil nipples of, I don't know, say Gazprom, for example, like Germany, like Trump 45 happened to mention. This just came out. And on my past Sunday night Saloon show with Rick Robinson, we saw an interesting video, which really wasn't all that clear, but now another one has been released by the DOJ, which I'm going to put up right now. And this is infinitely clearer than the other two that I'd seen previously, and I played on this past Sunday. So let me see if I can put these up, start these, and The first one I didn't go into because that's the suspect walking around and casing out the place, the Hilton International in D.C. Well, let's play this. Now, again, look at the upper right where the circle is located. That's a dog going into that room. They're attempting to put up the magnetometers. And out of that same area will come later on the suspect. Now, stop. Let me go back here just a little bit, if I might. And I'll have to drag this back. This is so clear that a lot of people I can remember reading in social media, well, this guy ran towards these agents, etc. He didn't have a gun. He had nothing. Well, that's predicated upon looking at that crappy video. This isn't crappy video. Look at this guy. I'm going to see if I can stop this during the guy's run. And he was very fast, very zippy. He'll come out of the room in the upper right. And then watch to see if it looks to you when he runs towards the agent right here. Stop. The agent in the middle of the screen right there. When Rick and I happened to watch that second slightly better video, that guy looked like he was wearing a baseball cap. And we commented on that. And we were hypothesizing, well, maybe this isn't a Secret Service agent. Well, I can't say I was particularly impressed by the response of this Secret Service agent, but perhaps, I don't know, perhaps he's hotel security. I do not know for a factorious that he is Secret Service. He very well may be. But if you see the moves, I'm very disappointed in what he does. I'll stop. And then I will also point out, because people said, oh, he had no guns. Oh, let's watch again. Fixing, attempting to assemble. Stop right there. Upper left corner. What do you see? Gee, that looks like a long gun to me. Does it not to you? And now, unfortunately, most everyone has their back to this guy at this point. And the two agents that are trying to repair or install the magnetometers, they're caught flat-footed. This guy here is also caught flat-footed. And then as I show and illustrate, he's going to back away. He was surprised. Now, I believe that a true Secret Service agent would have leaned into this guy and knocked him on his butt, or perhaps tried to trip him. But apparently he's caught by surprise and backs up. A Secret Service's agent's first instinct should be to block. You have a principle. Your job is to protect the principle. But for the people that said, no, this guy, Cole Allen, he had no firearm and a long gun. He didn't have a long gun. Really? What is that? Now you can see down here, this officer has drawn a weapon already. That's pretty surprising. This guy is not aware. This guy has a long gun. Now this guy gets out of the way. Here is the long gun. Down here, this agent or officer has a pistol out and drawn. This guy steps back and moves out of the guy's way. That's one of the reasons I do not know. I cannot tell you for a fact that this isn't a Secret Service agent. If that is a Secret Service agent, that's very disappointing. So let's continue with this. And then everybody else comes into the scene and moves towards the threat. Except this guy disappears into the bottom of the screen. Now, this is new video that has just come out, and I wanted to make sure that I played it for everyone tonight so that you could see some of the updates, particularly in light of the fact that there were some people that said, nope, that guy didn't have a gun. If you thought he had a gun, you guys are nuts, because he didn't. So apparently you were shooting at a guy with no gun who then happened to shoot a Secret Service agent into his vest. Now, this is the point where I say something similar to, you know, there's a gentleman that I watch on the SHR Media Network, and he's on in the morning. And his name is Earl Jackson from Mission Ready Men. And he's on every Tuesday and Thursday, like me, except he's on in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific and noonish Eastern. And Earl made a number of comparisons. His entire show was about, you know, there are no two sides in terms of who's violent. There are no two sides in terms of spoken violent rhetoric and actions that are violent as well. Now, I'll start out this by Jamie Raskin. And Jamie is going to pose a question here. And like Earl, I'm going to answer him. Jamie?
Yeah, and you have, and as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Just talking about...
Okay, so Jamie, as addressed by Earl Big E Jackson this morning, and Earl had a stellar program. 90 minutes of example after example, revelation after revelation, quotes, stats, which I'm going to show here as well, in terms of being answerable. Who is the most violent here? Who are they? And like I said, this is exactly what Earl Jackson was saying today on the Mission Ready Men briefing. And this is, let me see if I can stop this and start appropriately. Turn on that. This isn't the exact same video that Earl used, but this illustrates quite nicely what Earl said this morning. So for whatever reason, it's not going to play. Let me see if I can get that to go back. But in the meantime, there's this. This is one of the things that Earl quoted. And that's the YouGov polls about political violence. Let me stream down. Demorats and Republicans are admitting that there is political violence, and that's a big problem after attacks on members of their own party. This should come as no surprise. Older Americans are more concerned about political violence than young adults. But then most Americans say it's unacceptable to be happy about public figures' deaths, but younger and more liberal Americans are more likely to call it acceptable. And that's been because they have been continuously pummeled into believing that, well, if their mindset is such that, well, we can justify it all. You know, if you have an individual who's being quantified as a fascist Hitler 24/7, 365 for the past year, and also all during the 45 regime, well, then you have no problem with utilizing violence against people who support Trump, Trump himself, Republicans, or conservatives. So like Earl was saying, let me see, I'm going to give this one more time to see if I can play this, if it will let me play, because that's up go. Matter of fact, because this is important, let me see if I can refresh it. and have it go again.
That the left and the right are equal when it comes to calls for violence or acts of violence. You have done an amazing job of digging through the data. And what did you find? All right. So, Geraldo, see if you find this compelling.
Okay.
All right? So it seems to me that there are three main sources that you hear a lot from the mainstream media that allegedly prove that the problem we have right now of political violence is a both sides problem. There's the Cato Institute. There's the prosecution project out of the University.
A both sides issue, which it isn't, as Earl Jackson quite in depth, in great detail, proved this morning.
Of Cincinnati, and then there's the Center for Strategic and International Studies. And these are all always shared by the likes of The Economist, the Wall Street Journal today shared Center for Strategic and International Studies. The problem is when you dig down into that data, it is so deeply flawed. Let me just give you a few examples, okay? The prosecution project, supposed to list all of the acts of political violence in America, does not list Charlie Kirk's assassination, does not list Trump's assassination attempts, does not list any George Floyd violence. 24 Americans lost their lives during those riots.
25, actually, thank you.
Not listed. But every white nationalist who's a drug dealer, that gets listed. So they list 33 white Aryans,
So
Aryan Nation people.
Drug dealing, according to them, is political violence. That makes no sense. You know, the only people who gave and provided import and sustenance to the KKK and white supremacist groups, which are minuscule in nature, was the SPLC. They paid them. We'll get to that.
Who had a meth lab. This is political violence because they happen to be white nationalists. All right, Cato does not list the 9/11 victims, does not list any George Floyd violence. Center for Strategic and International Studies, where does it get its data from? The ADL, highly partisan, and the Southern, which just was revealed to have allegedly been funding the very racists that they were supposed to be fighting. And finally, I just have to mention this, the Center for Strategic and International Studies has in its methodology section, it says all anti-Semitism is right-wing. Any attacks on Jews or Jewish institutions, they reclassified it. If it was in the name of Palestinians, they reclassified it as ethno-nationalist. So by their definition, there's no such thing as left-wing anti-Semitism, which we all know is just nonsense.
Because almost every college and university on the East Coast exploded in the past 2 years with anti-Semitism. But no, this is gaslighting of the ultimate extreme. Don't believe what you see in front of your face and displayed on cable networks for the lengthiest amount of time.
This is the data. It is flawed. Shame on the Wall Street Journal and shame on The Economist because
well, The Economist, if you don't know, is a British left-leaning, huge left-leaning magazine. Well, okay. I digress. Everything in the UK is left-leaning.
They're giving a flawed view, and I totally agree with Katie. We can't, it would be so nice to say, kumbaya, we all share the problem. You cannot fix a problem if you are lying about what it is.
Wow. Thank you. Truthful. Very truthful. This is also, I go back to this as well. This just came out. Our great friends at CNN. CNN, the most accomplished name in news. I think I have enough time to play this before the top of the hour break. And at this point, at this rate, I can see that there will be an infinitesimal amount of material covered tonight. But I simply cannot not comment about this. Anyway, there's a guy named Seth Moulton. And he fantasized about killing Sec War Pete Hegseth. But here's the weird thing. CNN cut it before he said that. Would it surprise you that BZ has all of the information? So here we go. Seth, hit it.
Do you believe that the Secretary of Defense is guilty of war crimes?
Absolutely. I mean, he's clearly behind the operation to shoot all these boats in the Caribbean when it's very unclear that we actually have any confirmation that these so-called narco-terrorists, a term the administration invented to justify this action, are even on the boats. I mean, in fact, there's a lot of evidence.
By the way, the term narco-terrorists stems from 1995. Who was president in 1995? Oh, that's right, Bill Clinton.
These are just fishermen, getting jobs, piloting.
They're just fishermen on really fast boats, carrying drugs in boxes with no fishing poles and no bait. Right.
These boats trying to feed their families. There's been press reporting on some of these individuals who've been killed, who are clearly not war criminals. And on top of that, we then have the strike where they came back and hit it again, a double tap, just purely to kill these survivors who were clinging to wreckage. It's interesting, Aaron, another historical analogy.
If you shoot them once, you may as well shoot them twice. Why stop at one time? That's why life is called a double tap.
Back in World War II, the Allies tried Nazi submarine captains for doing this exact same thing. And Allies tried Nazi submarine captains for doing this exact same thing.
So Pete Hegseth is a Nazi submarine captain. Okay. Well, see, according to the worldview of these people, all we need is a continued collection of Nuremberg trials. But now let's go back. You remember when this guy, this loving guy, let's see if I can get him up here. Oh, I don't have it. Anyway, Jamie Raskin said, what rhetoric, what violence, what are you possibly talking about? Well, how about some lip music? How about some rhetoric? How about some advocation by Demorats of violence? Look, there's about 9 cuts right here. I know. Let's listen. Now, it may go into the break just a little bit, but I'm sure that you can tolerate that. Can't you?
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the
Okay, look, it's Jamie Raskin himself.
Fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component.
Fascist chaos has been unleashed against Jamie Raskin. Jamie, really? Where?
Of fascism is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist
She consults her notes.
nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said, "No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core."
And let me stop right here. Because do you remember what Mark Milley did? Mark Milley, I'll just be honest. Mark Milley was a traitor to his country. So was Lloyd Austin for supporting Mark Milley. And Mark Milley said, and of course, because it was under 46, nothing was done because of it. Mark Milley said that if I had an inkling that Donald Trump was going to act against China for whatever reason, I would call China. That's called treason. Folks, what's the penalty for treason? I'll let you figure that out.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right. You can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It's the second hour, the beginning of the second hour. I'm BZ. Thank you for being here. You're in the saloon tonight, so welcome back. Thanks for watching live on Rumble, on X, shrmedia.com, the SHR Media YouTube channel, and the Stentorian and Euphonious, both concomitantly KLRN, in which we continue to urge, please do not tax the Rick. Our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room awaits you. And all you have to do is just click, live chat to enter, something like that. Subscribe to the channel at SHR Media on the SHR Media YouTube channel, if you would. Give the show a thumbs up and be sure to follow and like all the shows and share. Sharing is caring, as you well know. The topic for tonight was at the very beginning, and I got it out of the way. I didn't make you wait for any of that stuff. I was wondering if a Chinese United States naval war was in the offing. You'll have to make that decision. I should go over this, I do believe. This is very interesting. Like I said, Earl Jackson had a great show early this morning. And what he was talking about is, well, this is a both sides issue, right? And he logically concluded that, well, no, it isn't. You know, said the side that shot President Trump, assassinated Charlie Kirk, tried to assassinate Kavanaugh, shoot Trump again, shoot Steve Scalise, firebombed Governor Shapiro, tried to shoot Trump a third time, blah, 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 blah. Also, this just in, to the big giant head. NICE agents. I think the ICE agents should be changed to NICE agents, National Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They're NICE agents, and they're doing the job for you. All illegal invaders out. All of them. Don't care who you are. And of course, you know, as people have said, this just came in. I love putting and displaying up stuff like this. King racist Mayor Brandon Johnson said, well, you know what? You can't jail your way out of crime. And the guy down below, who is that? That's Bukele. He's the president of El Salvador who did exactly that. Imagine that. It is possible. And then, of course, I've got a couple of really great and important cases coming up, court cases. And one of them is about, the VRA, the Voting Rights Act. You know, I noticed something very interesting. I wish I had a better photo to show you. I took this off the television. Look, these are all the people that disagree with the court case about the Voting Rights Act. What do you notice about them? Anything in particular? Oh, that's right. Racists wanting to continue with racism. And this is so weird. And I don't understand why. There isn't a white guy amongst them or a white gal. And yet they're the biggest racists. Imagine that. Now, in the center is this guy, Hakeem Jeffries, who is also a massive advocate of violence. This is a quote from him. We are in an era of maximum warfare everywhere, all the time. But tone down the rhetoric. No, we're not going to do that. That's not going to happen. You can ask for it. You know, asking and $75 will get you a coffee from the machine that goes that all the leftists that have their degrees in intersectional clitty licking, that's what their degrees are good for now. Starbucks, etc. That's impressive. You are impressive people. Now, the VRA and redistricting is all about gerrymandering. And I find this very interesting because all these states are already states that have gerrymandered the hell out of each other, but they want more. So Massachusetts, 36% Republican, Connecticut, 42% Republican, Maine, 46% Republican, New Mexico, 46% Republican, New Hampshire, 48%, Rhode Island, 42%, Vermont, 32%, Hawaii, 38%, Delaware, 42%. Essentially, they're half Republican. How many seats do they have? How many Republican seats do they have? Look at the top and go down. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And they're complaining about gerrymandering, which they were the very first to do that. I have something that I'd like to play for you that is from a CIA operations officer. And this guy's name is Gary Berntsen. And he's talking about the people that rig elections. And why would I be playing something by a CIA officer whose jobs have been historically in the past to rig elections? Oh, just in other countries. So this guy is going to talk to you about the math that happens to work behind the election fraud.
They know where they can find the dead people that they need to get certain votes. They plan this, as Gary said before.
It's meticulous.
It's meticulous. These guys are experts at this. It's not just a few guys in a back room. You're talking about hundreds of statisticians and engineers, and they work it, for a year.
And
to plan-
mathematicians
Right.
and hackers.
Right.
We had a map out of Colorado when we were talking to our engineers, the guys that designed it, stole the elections. And we looked at it and we said, look, it's Denver here and Colorado Springs, all the Democrats, and they looked at us in pity,
Yeah.
like, here's something. I said, no, we just go to every one place where Trump wins 70-30 and he's winning 68, or we shave, and every other place. We don't go near a Democratic place, because when they want to do recounts, they're going to go to the Democratic places. They don't realize we shaved in every other committee. We know every other county. We know how to do this. And then in each of
because they're the CIA.
those things where they shave with a different technique in each one of those. So if you found something in one county, there's no continuity around the state that way.
So this is why the Republicans are so much at fault, because they have the power and the ability to show in their areas they can allow access to the machines. They can allow access to the source code. They can allow the.
But they thought we just won by 35%. Okay, we didn't win by 38.
Yeah.
We won by 35. So no one's going to call to they should have, right?
Because everyone says, well, we expected the Republicans to win by a majority. Well, it was a little less than we thought it was going to be, but they still won. So, no harm, no foul. But the evidence of the fraud is right there, and they could
They
show
never
it.
looked at it.
They never looked at it. How weird. How bizarre. How bizarre. It's very bizarre. And then this just came out. If you want to know if camshafts were broken and there was the shitting of kittens, this would be the story that broke it. Virginia court blocks implementation of Demorat-drawn congressional map, which was called by the court a blatant power grab. Well, wow, that's kind of weird. How does that happen? Well, occasionally you get a court that likes to obey the law. And then you get this. But wait, there's more. Virginia Supreme Court upholds block on redistricting certification. Now, there are, how do I say this? There are consequences that will likely go downstream of this and downstream of the next story I'm going to give you about the VRA. Because now it turns out that other states, to be able to recognize off the top of my head, would be Georgia, Tennessee, and there are another couple. Texas may revisit, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of redistricting. And so doors are opening in places and locales where other Demorats and leftists had not anticipated. They thought that they were going to be able to kick in all the doors, block the doors, and make sure that they use all of this information and these tactics for themselves, which is really interesting because, as I've said before, there was someone that addressed me in social media earlier today, which was kind of convenient because knowing that I had the show tonight, who said, have you ever heard of the book Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky? And of course I said, yeah. I had the dude who was the president of the Alinsky Institute, Gary Benko. I had him on my show in 2018 or 2019. And I met him and spoke to him at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas. And one of the things that Gary Benko, a big advocate of from the Alinsky Institute, one of the things he said is, Saul Alinsky wrote this book, and you can go down page by page, bullet point by bullet point, and this is no secret. The book was published. And oddly enough, Saul Alinsky was a big firearms kind of guy. was a big firearms enthusiast. Go figure. And he said, that's Gary Benko, said to me, I just don't understand. What's the problem with Republicans? The book is here. It's been printed. It's out. It's been around for decades. Why is it that you guys don't use the book for yourselves to do the same thing? To which I essentially answered, well, the Republicans are too interested in playing by the Marquess of Queensberry rules. When all along I said they should. I want to see Republicans with veins between their teeth. And there isn't. They're too interested in being loved because they believe that being loved is going to yield greater donations. To which I've again replied for years. Republicans, GOP, conservatives, you were already despised. You are right here. You are almost at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. So, like Trump said, I want everybody in the tent because at this point, what have you got to lose? Republicans, you are all, the despiction is huge. What have you got to lose? Oh, well, we can't do that. We can't play like that. Yeah, and then you get your ass steamrollered. But again, this is interesting. Virginia Supreme Court upholds block on redistricting certification. So will there be more on this? And the answer is, of course, there will be. There will be appeals flying to and fro everywhere. So this is a happy story. And I do have happy. God, will I be able to make? I hope I'm able to make happy stories. This is, in essence, a happy story. So what happened is that the Supreme Court of Virginia denied the AG's motion for an emergency stay in that issue at hand, that court stay at hand. And the thing that I really enjoyed about this is, God, normally things just go on and on and on in legalese. And this, I don't know here's the clerk's name. I got to put this up, but this is the response. And this was glorious. You can see it right here. In the Supreme Court of Virginia, held at the Supreme Court building in the city of Richmond, on the 28th day of April, 2 days ago, Republican National Committee, Steve Koski, Virginia Department of Elections, et al. And then the bottom sentence is this: the appeal by the Demorats. Nope. Whereas before, massive page after page after page of legalese, this judge said, in a sentence, upon consideration thereof, the court denies the motion. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. Hell no. Screw sorry. I'm not sorry. I think that was cool. That was wonderful. And then there was another court case that came out. Now, that was Virginia, what I was talking about in terms of redistricting. Here's another. This came from the Supreme Court and the VRA, the Voting Rights Act. And this is from New York Post. Republicans see a clear win in yesterday's Supreme Court decision striking down Louisiana's congressional maps, and that victory could keep them in control of the House after November's election in a 6-3 decision. That's called a majority. The Supreme Court struck down that majority black House district, weakened the Voting Rights Act, giving Republicans a chance to rewrite the congressional maps, particularly in southern states. So what these people, the racists, were saying, well, we've been the benefactors of racism for literally decades now, and pulling the racist rug out from underneath us doesn't allow us to continue being racists anymore. And we're pissed that you've called us to our face racists, because we are. And we can't continue our racism. What did MLK say? The content of character versus your melanin count versus your paint job. And they are upset, I tell you, destroyed, because they can't hang their hats on their racist selves anymore. This is an article, I'm going to put this up now, that Rowdy Rick Robinson from KLRN wrote. I'm not going to read it all. As I usually say, you can find all the articles and videos that I used tonight at my Rumble channel at BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. That's on Rumble. And that's where I display all my show links, all my articles, all my videos. I don't do that on YouTube because there's no room for YouTube to allow me to do that. So I post all the stuff on Rumble, which is in a horizontal format, and YouTube is in a portrait vertical format. So if you want to read this article in depth, because the link will be there, I highly recommend it. But basically what Rick Robinson is saying, let me scroll down here a little bit. And Rick said, don't summarize the article because I want people to read it. But Rick, I hope you're not watching or listening. Shh, close your ears. You didn't hear this. Rick says in his last sentence, that's not civil rights. That's not progress. That is the old poison in a new bottle with a new label and better marketing. Well, gosh, what's he referring to? I will let you read the article for yourself. And like anything and everything here, I will let you draw your own conclusions. Here's another article that, in terms of news, this is newsworthy. Oh my, like I said, Demorats and leftists are shitting car parts and camshafts, and they are shitting kittens because of this. Two major things that have allowed them to control you and manipulate you, and the fascists truly are the Demorats, because under a fascist society, all the people that were complaining about fascism wouldn't be allowed to complain. They would be cut off on any number of levels, proving, of course, that this is not a fascist regime, you morons. This story from the New York Post also, California Demorats freak out after bombshell Supreme Court ruling on Louisiana districting. And what it says is California always spelled with a K, or Califailure, that's also approved. Most prominent Demorats quaking in their boot. The ruling effectively, what it does is it makes it harder to use claims of racial discrimination as the primary factor when drawing political maps that favor certain voters. Because blacks and racist blacks have said, well, in order to minimize racism, we need to be racists. And if you stop us from being racists, you're racist. Okay, do the math on that one, because it's kind of tough to do. And it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But it does if you're a racist. Okay, so let's look a little bit deeper at this. Now, the ruling from the court on the Louisiana case, the voting rights situation was, SCOTUS did the 6-3 thing. And basically they said that race-based districting is now unconstitutional. Okay. And essentially Louisiana's map will be, or is going to be thrown out at some point. Okay. Here's the thing you need to consider, though. This is the portion of criticality that you need to be aware of. Demorats do not have a House majority without those gerrymandered districts. At least a dozen of their seats sit in districts that exist because federal courts forced them to draw them under a prior regime. So I'm going to do my best to remember. Louisiana, Alabama, Georgia, the Carolinas, everyone has at least one Demorat seat in a court-created black majority district. Their House margin is 4 seats. Okay, so SCOTUS basically made, in Louisiana, 12 of their 213 seats lawfully redrawable, for lack of a better word. Okay, but here's the deal, and it's like I said a little bit earlier. You open a door, and then somebody steps through, and then another somebody steps through, and it's what BZ used to call BZ's logical extension, which is, okay, if a door is opened, expect other people to walk through. So, okay, if I'm trying to do the logical extension, which is, okay, if Louisiana redraws districts, then my guess would be Alabama is mostly going to do the same thing. And then if Alabama does that, then mostly every southern state is going to consider that. And if every southern state, including Texas, because they're talking about doing it again in some fashion, bye, Jasmine, then the House Demorat majority was a 60-year-old courtroom kind of like weird artifact thing created. It wasn't an election result, for example. So some people are speculating that the 26 midterms just got decided 6-3 before election day. So I'm just throwing it out there for consideration by you. Is that proper? Is that right? Is that what will actually occur? I'm not sure. Let me put this up. Because somebody on social media said, you know, if you guys meaning me, conservatives, Republicans, I'm not a Republican, I'm a registered independent, but conservatives, I'll speak up for conservatives. Leftist Demorats were saying, if you had your way, you'd have Clarence Thomas in all 9 positions. To which I replied, oh, not just yeah, fuck yeah. Jesus. Facts and obviosity right here. I put this up. It's really small. You're not going to be able to read it, so I'll read it for you. So this is from Bill Malugin. Bill Malugin. That guy, Bill. Good old Bill. SCOTUS Justice Clarence Thomas he felt compelled to issue a separate concurrence agreeing with the majority 6-3 decision on racial gerrymandering, but he says he would have gone further. These are now quotes from Clarence Thomas. Today's decision should largely put an end to this disastrous misadventure in voting rights jurisprudence. As I explained more than 30 years ago, I would go further and hold that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not regulate districting at all. The relevant text prohibits states from imposing or applying a voting qualification, that's in quotes, prerequisite to voting, or standard practice or procedure in a manner that results in a denial or abridgment of the right to vote based on race. Clarence Thomas writes, 52 U.S.C. 1031A, how states draw district lines, does not fall within any of those three categories. The words in Section 2 instead reach only enactments that regulate citizens' access to the ballot or the processes for counting a ballot. They do not include a state's choice of one districting scheme over another. Therefore, no Section 2 challenge to districting should ever succeed. Now, the interesting thing about that is I put it up to remind me to say this. Just like I said, liberals, conservatives are racist. Conservatives imagining the ideal Supreme Court. Oh, hell yeah. I'll be the first to say that. Absolutely agreed. And so with these two decisions, oh, damn it, Jim. I have absolutely failed. It's an abject fail. I have done an abject fail. I forgot. Let's take a break.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out 7 Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with 7 Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passion.
Are you looking for bold and honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleashed 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional, but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The last half hour of the show is right now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would please subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel, because if for no other reason than each subscription, if it occurs on my show, it gets me a choice of an arboreal animal of my choice. I'm thinking Hyrax at this point. It gets me a porcelain Dalmatian. It gets me different cat food that I can feed my dogs. The timing chain from a 1979 Peterbilt 359. It gets me blinker fluid, but not so much these days because winter is predominantly behind us. And mostly it gets me more vodka. Vodka right here in SHR Media Cup. Tuvares. Hey, look, BZ's on the bottom. By the way, government, very bad, would not recommend. Also, before we go any further, I want to tell you this, folks. What time is it, by the way? Hello, producer. What time is it, by the way?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And what time is it?
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m.
We can stop that. We can go to this. This is what happens when you don't have a producer. Go.
Folks, this is BZ's final hour.
Thank you.
Step up. Last call for alcohol.
Holy mother of God. It shouldn't be that tough to get the production done, really. And so what we're going to do now is this last portion will kind of almost be the Lee Zeldin hour, if you will, because that's when I am left with no other option except to see if I can transmogrify into this portion. Oh, I didn't put these up, by the way. Let me kill the banner so that you can see. This is what the Democrats are doing right now. Don't you die on us, you bastard. We're trying to win an election. Racism, they have to keep it cooked. They must keep it going. And also, now, you'll understand this in just a moment when I'm going to put this up first. Here are two people that have been separated at birth. Ha, Rosa. Hamo. Isn't that the truth? And the other aspect of truth that I have to tell you is people are postulating that this could be the 2030 apportionment forecast. We're going to have to go through hell to get there. And hell it will be. And likely the Republicans will not be helping very much. But I have to tell you that we're now to the portion of the show where I am going to go into this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And this is where we're going to bring Lee Zeldin to the stage because this unit, whatever the hell this is on the left, love the hair, beauty, love the hair. Anyway, nothing pisses off a Congress critter than somebody that they're attempting to grill who knows more than they do. Take it away, Rose DeLauro and Lee Zeldin.
When climate change is flooding our streets, poisoning our air, driving up healthcare and disaster costs, how can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change?
Okay, stop. I speak leftist, so I'll translate. She's shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that he's quoting law back to her. Law that she doesn't know. And the law does not mandate that you do what the Demorats want you to do in terms of climate change. So Lee Zeldin has to do one thing and one thing primarily: obey the law.
Loper Bright, Supreme Court case. You're familiar with it?
No, I maybe others are. I'm not. But let me ask.
But that's real.
But maybe others are. I'm not. So law doesn't mean poop. She has an agenda to jam up the butt of every American, and she's not going to be obstructed by doing that. Legal.
Really important. As a member of Congress, Loper Bright says that we as an agency don't have the authority to get creative. If Section 202 of the Clean Air Act.
No, but you don't have, excuse me, you do not have the right to say climate change does not exist, that it's a hoax, and that's where this administration
I
is
understand
coming
you're
from.
upset that you don't know what Loper Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because
You know what the major policies doctrine is?
You know, let me just
You're a
say this
member
to
of
you.
Congress. You should know.
Well, you have moved from someone who defended the environment to all of a sudden
Being very
making
defensive
a-
about not knowing the two biggest landmarks of
He has to obey the law. She doesn't give a shit about the law.
Supreme Court cases of the
and,
last
and
year
you are
with
very,
regards to your
you are
question.
very defensive about changing your
Defensive. Look at thyself in the mirror, purple one.
policy and your positions with regard to the environment. Now,
Okay.
you just
Do
tell
you want me to tell you what the two biggest
No, I
Supreme
want
Court
you to
cases
tell
are of the
me.
last few years?
This is what I want you
Michigan
to tell
versus
me.
EPA,
Whoa.
West Virginia versus EPA.
You know, you're here because you need money from us. So halt for the second.
Okay, stop. This is glorious. You're here because you need money from us. To which that was a perfect opportunity for Lee Zeldin to say, okay, well, then defund the EPA, will you? Opportunity missed, mister.
And wait for the questions and answer the questions.
Well, I answered your question,
No, you
and you
didn't.
didn't like my answer because
did
you
not
don't know what
answer the
Loper Bright is,
question.
because you don't know what the major policy.
She's an ignoramus leftist. She should have left years and years ago. If there's anybody that says agendized with a big stamp in reverse on her forehead and voluminous chin, it would be her. All she cares about is, and look at the lady on the right. I don't know who she is, but I think she's tired of hearing all of this, because I don't see her chiming in support. This leftist bent is, I'm sorry, no, I'm not, moron.
Policies doctrine is
Chairman,
because you're asking me
questions.
you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny. You want
No,
to
I actually read the law. I do my homework.
really.
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do?
Oh. Okay.
I read the law.
No,
I
Mr.
read the
Chairman, I don't
Supreme
have to
Court
listen to
cases.
this, and I would say
No,
this,
what you should do
that
for your
this-
constituents is actually read
this
statute.
budget is at real risk.
Read
Let
your
me tell
Supreme
you,
Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh,
you
you're
come
gonna-
here.
Okay, I say again, defund the EPA. If you don't care what he's saying, just defund the EPA. Put your actions where your fucking mouth is. Comma, you stupid bint.
Care
And
about
you tell
science? Now
us-
you're threatening to defund it
Oh my God! No, you don't fund
because
science.
you don't know what Loper
You
Bright
are
is.
climate
Because you don't know what the
Because you're a moron. How many times do I have to say, and this is where you have to stand up to these idiots. Fish or cut bait. You don't like what he says, know the law. Know the law better than he does. If you don't know the law better than he does, then simply cut the funding to the EPA, which you won't do. And everybody realizes that. The more and the longer you open your mouth, you're making yourself look even more stupid. Difficult to do, but achievable.
Danger policies
You are
doctrine is your
climate
message
deniers.
to our folks at the EPA is that you want to
I don't
defund
have to
us.
listen to this BS.
BS. You think I made up these cases?
Yeah, I think you have made up a
I
whole
made
lot of
I made
She thinks he made up court cases. I think if you were to take a poll of most of the politicians, sad to say, I would wager over 50%. Can't tell you the Bill of Rights. They can't tell you the First Amendments. I bet they can't tell you anything up to the 14th Amendment. That is a sad state of affairs, but I believe it's completely true.
Made up Loper Bright. I made up West Virginia versus EPA. I made up Michigan versus EPA.
Woe is right. What are you doing? Why
Wait,
are you helping
whoa.
polluters?
And I played that because it really is a metric ton of fun. But because now at this point, it's the Lee Zeldin show, I would be remiss if I didn't illustrate this for you. This is a little bit more information about Rosa DeLauro from John Kennedy. And I could, folks, I could not play this for you tonight.
This is what you could end up looking like if you eat some of the raw frozen shrimp being sent to the United States by other countries.
That's the truth, folks. You could look like that. It's my show and I get to go wherever I want. If you don't like it, get your own show. Okay, so then there was a bit of a tete-a-tete between Lee Zeldin and Sheldon Whitehouse. And, well, let's just listen.
When predictions are made in the past, science will have a range of the pessimistic to the optimistic. And in order to justify, for example, the 2009 endangerment finding, they were adopting the most pessimistic views of the science. Now, when you get to 2026, great news, you're able to rely on present day facts in 2026 rather than any bad assumptions from 2009. And just because you take exception when a member of Congress says in January of 2019, in 12 years, the world's about to end, if we're sitting here today saying, well, gosh, it's only 4 years and 9 months left, I don't think the world is about to end, they want to vilify you as if you're denying science. I mean, I just saw a clip yesterday where Al Gore was talking about global freezing. I'm having trouble keeping up. I thought it was global warming, and now it's global freezing. And I don't know what kind of I don't know.
But as the madam said, they want to have their cake and eat it too. And they want to shove that cake in your mouth as well. But first, it will be tainted with rat poison.
What kind of money is made? You want to talk about making money off of a climate grift? Well, what won't get referenced by your colleagues on the opposite side of the aisle who bring up the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund is that the money was going to former Obama and Biden officials.
And how many NGOs, and to USAID, and how many other people that were not supposed to be recipients of your hard-earned American taxpayer dollars.
The money was going to Democratic donors.
No.
The conflicts of interest that we saw, the amount of self-dealing, the unqualified recipients. Climate United Fund CEO was a special assistant in OMB during the Obama-Biden administration. They received $6.9 billion.
You need to hear this because you need to know what a grift this is. It's either too cold or too hot. There is no so-called Goldilocks planet anymore. It's either an extreme at either end.
If you could go down the list with that entity, you could go through the Coalition for Green Capital about a Biden-Harris climate advisor serving on the board, joining the board in 23 while the organization was applying for GGRF. Power Forward Community's CEO of Fannie Mae during the Obama-Biden administration. By the way, if we had 10 more minutes, I could just go through conflicts of interest. They're not offended by that. So we just want to stick to the truth. We want to stick to the science. And if you don't agree with them, you don't follow their logic, well, they'll want to vilify you. But hey, as long as we stay true to these facts.
I'm sorry. Again, why do I say that? I'm not sorry. It's a grift. It's a grift. It's corruption. It's fraud. It's a scam writ large. And I wanted you to hear where those things go. And for one of my final acts for tonight, there will be another Demorat meltdown provided by Lee Zeldin. Can't think of this guy's name. Menendez? I think that's his name. In any event, let's put this up and listen, shall we?
Move on because you've said other crazy stuff. You've said other stuff, crazy stuff today. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Mr. Menendez, New Jersey. Wait a minute. Menendez, New Jersey. I'm shocked.
Biden administration, that the Biden administration, I mean, are you going to do anything?
I like the hand motion. Do you like the hand motion? There's the hand motion and the hand lotion. There it is. Go. Are you going to do anything?
I mean,
You ask a question.
How many instances
You ask a
you
question,
have
give
to
me an
have
opportunity to
him-
answer.
Because I moved on, and you've done this numerous times. So listen, I just want to ask you a question.
I've moved on. You started to give the wrong answer, the one I didn't like, so I've moved on.
You've said that the Biden administration with the IRA had more funds than the EPA knew how to spend, and there was waste, fraud, and abuse, right? And this was going out to people that were in the Biden orbit. You had said that earlier. Yet I'm curious if you have any issue with the fact that during the 2024 campaign, the president asked the oil and gas industry for $1 billion in exchange for supporting these rollbacks that the EPA is administering now. Is that at all an issue for you that the president said to the oil and gas industry, give me $1 billion and I will do your work? Is that not the work that the EPA is doing today?
I don't know. Are you actually asking questions? Where
I'm asking a question. Are you going to give an answer?
I'm going to start an answer and then you're going to cut me off. Is that how this works?
All right. Well, if that's going to be the case, I have another thing for you. What do you think about the $220 million ad campaign that Secretary Noem had with the DHS that went directly?
Hey, here's something weird. Noem got fired for that.
That went directly to Trump. I'm talking. That went to Trump operatives. Did you speak out against that as a member of the administration?
How about the fact
did you
that
speak
the Biden
out?
of
Did you
was
speak
giving
out against that against the
dollars to
administration?
This is how you handle Demorat assholes like that. You're an adult. You don't have to take that crap because someone's sitting at a dais that happens to be slightly more elevated than the person who is allegedly being asked questions of. You don't have to take it up the poop chute. You lose no right as a mature adult from some twink like this who thinks that he's superior to you, which he isn't. All he did was get elected. A donut can get elected in the proper precincts.
For Obama and Biden officials. How about the conflicts of interest during the Biden EPA that you don't want to
All
uphold?
right, what about in the Trump administration?
All
right. Well, if you want to talk about the Biden administration, talk about the Trump administration. You're a part of the administration.
And you don't want
say
the
that
answer.
Secretary Noem was wrong. Say that Secretary Noem was wrong.
EPA.
You're not going to.
You don't want to work with the agency.
Mr. Zeldin. Thank you. Mr. Zeldin is here to talk about the EPA, not other matters. At the same time,
thank you.
If it's related to the EPA, and you certainly can ask, but he also has a right to answer the question. So let's try to be a little more civil.
Yes. And each time he was attempting to answer the question. But you don't have to take this crap from these folks. And, this is work. You waited the entire show for me to portray this. I'm going to play. I will be going into a little bit of overtime to make a point because I'm going to play this for it's not quite 3 minutes. And then I'm going to play a 5-minute video. And then you can ask yourself, gosh, BZ, why is that related? Or is it even related at all? The second to the last video tonight has to do with Brandon Gill. And I typified this as a parent going in front of a school board and saying something similar to, why is my child at 10 years of age being shown a book about how Jimmy likes to take it up the cornhole? And that's a book that the school board supports completely, immensely. But then the parent begins to read from the book that the board approved, the parent is wrong because the parent is actually exposing the language that's in the book that the parent is objecting to. But the language is not acceptable to be quoted in front of the school board. Well, now that you have a little bit of an analogy to the point that I was making, here's Brandon Gill. This was, I think, quite glorious. Brandon Gill, go.
You're an advocate for abortion, for abortion policy. What's your favorite type of abortion?
I'm an advocate for patients having access to the full realm of reproductive health care.
But do you have a preferred method of abortion that you like?
I do not.
I mean, read.
Note the smirk, because clearly she is more superior than him. She's thinking, oh, you're going to try to hoist me on this petard. I know, I'll just deflect.
I mean, read through a couple different methods, and I want to get your take on how much you like these. The first type is called a suction abortion. This is when the cervix is dilated and a strong suction, 29 times the power of a household vacuum cleaner, tears the baby's body apart and sucks it through the hose into a container.
Stop. Now, Brandon Gill, is he correct? Is that one of the manners in which an abortion is conducted? Is he not being factual? The answer is he is being factual. That is one of the manners in which. Now, that she doesn't like to hear that is not his problem, but he's stating what occurs.
Do you prefer that method?
I stand by my former testimony.
That sounds kind of gross, doesn't it? Sounds pretty gruesome. Do you agree? It does to me.
I stand by how I answered your question fully and accurately.
Okay, what about this one? This one is called dilation and curettage.
That's actually called dilation and curettage, just to tell you, because my former wife, my ex-wife, was a labor and delivery nurse, and I heard all about that. And I heard all about abortions, day in, day out.
After dilation of the cervix, a sharp looped knife is inserted into the uterus. The baby's body is cut into pieces and extracted, often by suction. Do you prefer that method?
What I believe we are here to talk about today is the FACE Act. We are not here to talk
I'm
about
asking
the
you, you're a
legality of
pro-abortion advocate. I'm asking if you prefer the dilation and curettage method.
I am a access to reproductive health care advocate.
You don't
reproductive health care. I speak leftist, so I'll translate. That's killing your baby, slicing the baby up in the womb, and then removing it piece by piece. Oh, by the way, if you haven't already grokked the concept, I'm going to be playing the quote by Dr. Levitan, the one that finally convinced me that abortion was evil. Once I heard this, I said, no, I'm not on board with that shit anymore.
You don't want to talk about abortion itself. Why?
And we don't want to talk about the school books that the school board loves, because to reveal what actually is in the book is terrible. To reveal what actually occurs in an abortion is terrible.
I would prefer to talk about the reason that the committee called the hearing.
Is it because it's
freedom of
uncomfortable to talk
access.
about?
Would prefer
It should
to
be
It's uncomfortable to the school board. It's very uncomfortable to her. She is offended. She's offended that you would quantify an abortion on that level. She's so far superior to you. Don't confuse me or anyone else with the facts and the way things are actually occurring in reality with regard to an abortion.
I would prefer, if you would let me finish my statement, to talk about the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which is
We're
what I
talking
was
about
asked to come
what that
here to talk
access
about.
gets. How about this one? It's called dilation and evacuation. Forceps are inserted into the uterus, grabbing and twisting the baby's body to dismember him or her. If the head is too large, it must be crushed in order to remove it.
So, do you think that's true? Do you think he's making that up? The answer is no. And for the final act tonight, I will play you the disgusting video. If you, I'm, you know, again, I'm not going to apologize because this is reality. This is what occurs during an abortion. And if you can't take it, oh, well, don't care, hang up, go away. But I'm going to play it anyway because this was my convincing video. This was what made me go, no more. I was a leftist, as I said, in the 70s, in the 60s. Not anymore. Let's put this up and let's hear Dr. Levatino talk about an abortion because he's a doctor and he performed them. So, Dr. Levatino, what did you do?
After another, it's time to stop wasting time, get on with meaningful work, and stop picking on women and trying to take their choice away. I yield back the balance of my time.
The time of the gentleman has expired. We welcome our distinguished witnesses today. Do you and each of you swear that the testimony that you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I'll now begin by introducing today's witnesses. The first witness is Dr. Anthony Levatino. Dr. Levatino is a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist. Over the course of his career, Dr. Levatino has practiced obstetrics and gynecology in both private and university settings, including as an associate professor of OBGYN at the Albany Medical College. And Dr. Levatino, we'll begin with you. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to get right to it. Second trimester D&E abortions performed between roughly 14 and 24 weeks of gestation. Your patient today is 17 years old. She's 22 weeks pregnant. Her baby is the length of your hand plus a couple of inches. And she's been feeling her baby kick for the last several weeks. But she's asleep on an operating room table. You walk into that operating room scrubbed and gowned, and after removing laminaria, you introduce a suction catheter into the uterus. This is a 14 French suction catheter. If she were 12 weeks pregnant or less, basically the width of your hand or smaller, you could basically do the entire procedure with this.
Stop. As he's speaking, look at the faces of the people in the background.
But babies this big don't fit through catheters this size. After suctioning the amniotic fluid out from around the baby, you introduce an instrument called a Sofer clamp. It's about 13 inches long. It's made of stainless steel. The business end of this clamp is about 2.5 inches long and 1/2 inch wide. There are rows of sharp teeth. This is a grasping instrument. When it gets a hold of something, it does not let go. A D&E procedure is a blind abortion. So picture yourself introducing this and grabbing anything you can blindly and pull, and I do mean hard, and out pops a leg about that big, which you put down on the table next to you. Reach in again, pull out an arm about the same length, which you put down on the table next to you. And use this instrument again and again to tear out the spine, the intestines, the heart and lungs. Head in the baby that size is about the size of a large plum. Can't see it, but you pretty good idea you've got it if you've got your instrument around something and your fingers are spread about as far as they go. You know you did it right if you crush down on the instrument and white material runs out of the cervix. That was the baby's brains. Then you could pull out skull pieces. And you have a day like I had a lot of times, sometimes a little face comes back and stares back at you. Congratulations, you just successfully performed a second trimester D&E abortion. You just affirmed her right to choose.
And with that, I end the show. Demorats, what wonderful, wonderful, nonviolent, life-affirming people. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on Rumble, on the SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, and the munificently grandiose KLRN, courtesy of Rick Robinson, the person to whom should not be taxed. And by the way, you can see it on also later in podcast, tons of other podcast catchers all around this grand planet and the galaxy. And as per normal, for at least the next week or so, Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, also by Shure and Electro Voice microphones, also the people who manufacture my mixer, the Arrakis, and also thanks to the Pratt & Whitney engine company producing dependable engines yielding thrust you can trust. And also, tiaras tonight, as you can see, are by My Little Pony. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than 10 minutes. And with that, everybody, take care. God bless. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Night, everybody. Good night, Mama. Night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.
Folks, I also want you to remember this.